Hi, I have an interesting story to tell you. So, back when I sat for my A-level computing practical, something interesting happened. One of the questions we were required to solve needed us to use dates and the datetime module. But the problem is, I didn't really have good mastery over how the datetime module worked. So, I tried to kind of reverse engineer how datetime worked in the first place to get something done. If you want to go and see what my paper was about, you can probably find it online or your teachers will probably give it to you. But just know that when I ended up doing my code and running it, one of my dates was like the 32nd of the month. And if you've passed primary school, you might know there is no such thing as the 32nd of the month. So obviously I lost a lot of marks there. But it did highlight to me very bittersweetly, I guess, that the datetime module was actually something that was quite critical to know. Granted, I could probably have spent a bit more time in the exam experimenting and figuring it out, but I was in a time crunch and I had one other subtask I wasn't very sure about. It didn't affect my overall grades, thankfully, but it did keep me up at night, a few nights after. So yeah, here I am to help you out. I'm going to teach you how to use the datetime module so that you don't get cooked like I did. Just to preface, inside of your insert, where they have all of the, mini codes, your formula sheet basically. Inside of that, they have the commands you need for datetime, but I will tell you right now, it is practically useless if you do not know how to use it properly. It's one of those things where you actually kind of need to have done a project with datetime before. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Firstly, datetime is a module, so you need to import it as you would any other Python module. So import datetime. When you import datetime, then you can start whatever code it is that you would like to write. In this case, first, let's look at date outputs. So if we want to kind of see what the time is now, we could run x equals to datetime.datetime dot now. If we do this and we print out what the value of x is, it'll give you an object that basically tells you what time it is now. I mean, if you look at mine, for example, right now it's the 15th of March, 2026, which makes sense, 15/3/2026, and it is 14 hours past midnight, 45 minutes past the 14th hour, 50 seconds, and this many, microseconds after that. Don't really need to use the microseconds in an actual exam, but I think the max you'll ever have to deal with is seconds, though it's an interesting feature, so just know that you can do that. So this is how you would record the timing right now, and if you notice, it's recorded exactly at the moment of execution. If I run it again, then it'll give me exactly the moment that it was executed. But if I just print x again and again, it doesn't get updated. So it is when the function is called that the timing is recorded. Okay, now let's look at how we can kind of break this down. If you look at the type of x right now, you would get it's a datetime.datetime object. This is not a string. It is also not a list. It is a specific datetime object you need to learn how to wrestle with. So how do we get specific parts out of this datetime object? Well, you can do .year, which gives you 2026. And again, following, you can do .month. You can do the same for everything else. You can follow along to find everything else, and there's this thing you can do, which is strftime. This basically gives you x dot, sorry, I messed up. I need to put this format. Yes, this basically gives you the name of the weekday that you're in. But you can basically adjust this specifically to give you multiple other things that you can kind of identify. So, for example, if you want to identify the month name in the full version, you can do B. There's a whole reference you can do for this. I believe by asking in the help menu, you'd probably be able to identify this. For example, if I did help, whoa, everything just crashed. Did you see that? I'm pretty sure everything just, wow, okay, that's odd. Yeah, if you do help, and then inside of here, date, time, then you would have documentation. You can search through here to find your different things, but there is like you have the ability to search for the hour in different formats, the second, the time zone, the UTC offset, everything. So you can mess around with that to kind of gain specifically well-formatted, I guess, strings from the datetime object that you have, which is quite cool. So yeah, that's how you can do that. Now, how do you actually create a specific datetime object, like an instance in time? Let's say I wanted to find the day that my A-level results were released, for example. This is not like the actual day. I don't remember when that was. But let's say it's 2025. I could do this. Not data time. That's a very critical error. So 2025 bracket month, let's say like we got it in February? I don't know. And then comma, you could put, let's say 15th. If you do this, now y would now have the value of the date that you wanted to put inside there. So you can use that to basically convert regular strings and stuff into datetimes. So that's effectively how you can mess with datetimes on a very basic kind of level. Now, you need to know about how you can add to datetime objects. So if you want to be able to add to datetime, there's a few things you need to do. Firstly, you need to import time delta. So how you would have to change this is from datetime, you would have to import datetime, which is again why we write datetime.datetime, and time delta. So if we do this, then again, it's very simple. You want to create a variable called now that stores the current datetime object. All you need to do is now equals to, let me find it real quick. Now is equal to datetime.now. And if you're under now, yeah, again, this kind of just does the same thing, except you don't need to put datetime.datetime anymore, because now you're importing datetime from datetime, if that makes a lot of sense. This is just a shorter way you can do it. Now, how exactly can we add to timing? Well, let's say we wanted to, we have now, right? Now is today, right now. Let's see how we can add 10 days and 2 hours from now. What we can do is we can write duration, for example, a new object, and put time delta, right? Days equals to 10, hours equals to 2, then we just let this run. Now what we can do, since we have now and the duration we want to delay it by, we can put future time equals to now plus duration. If we do this, whoa, no errors. Even though one delta time and one uses date time, right? They still are able to be added together. So now that you have done this, what exactly is future time? Well, if we do future time, like print, sorry, not print future time. Actually it might just be print future time. If we print future time, then it'll give us the specific time in the future, which would be 25th March, with respect to what time it is now. So that is effectively how you can go about doing this. This is pretty interesting, right? Now the same thing can be done in terms of subtraction. You can subtract the duration and you'll get the same thing. In this case, you'll get 5th March because it's 10 days behind. So there are a lot of other ways you can manipulate. Again, I still recommend you go and check your help menu. Honestly, why didn't I check my help menu in the A-levels? I'm not too sure, but this should make it way easier for you to be able to kind of mess with objects using datetime. So yeah, now let's kind of take a look at something very interesting. Instead of asking what duration is, let's ask what type it is. Yeah, it's a datetime dot time delta, but the type of future time is a datetime.datetime. So what does this teach you? This teaches you that you can add time delta objects to datetimes to result in datetimes. It is effectively just adding and subtracting time changes to a datetime value to give you another datetime value. So you have to be comfortable with this and not forget how to use time delta in this sort of way. But if you're able to do that, you're completely sorted for the datetime module. So don't worry about datetime so much. It's not as difficult as you think. You just need to remember not to panic and not to mess up, I guess. So yeah, with that, bye-bye. See ya.